Hello and welcome to another episode of The Hollywood Knitter. My name is Allison and this is my podcast. I'm recording on Sunday, September 24th, 2023 from my home in Los Angeles, California. And it's been a while. It's always been a while. Hasn't it been? It's been a summer. I think summer is almost over. I think fall is officially next week, this week, today. I can't remember, but it does feel like fall here a little bit in Southern California, which is odd. We've had a really weird summer with some rain over the summer. I mean, not like significant, but for us to see anything, it's kind of weird and kind of cooler temperatures. It's like in the mid 70s here today, and normally September, October, it's usually still, 80s and 90s. So I definitely feel fall. I'm wearing my Hocus Pocus shirt. Because it feels a little fall to me, and yeah, I'm enjoying that. But what's been happening? I've had a busy 2 months. I'm going to share some of that, some of my travels and some of my knittings and all that kind of stuff. But just wanted to sit down today, record podcast, catch up with everybody, see how everyone's doing before I head out into October, where I have a fair amount of travels planned, which are awesome. And so I don't think I'd be able to sit back down again until like November. So I thought I would show you what I've shown. Starting with FOs, I have actually, I don't know, I think my mojo's been a little off. Oh, sorry, I have an itchy nose. My mojo's been a little off. I've been knitting? I have, but I just don't feel like I've been getting through a lot. And I'll show you one of my big projects for one of the reasons why. But yeah, I just feel maybe my mojo's not been as on over the summer. So what have I been knitting on? First up, we're going to start with my Knitted Knockers. So this is the charity where you make cotton, kind of breasts, boobies that could be stuffed. So they're just this is Cascade Ultra Pima Fine. And I have a whole bag. So I knit two different kinds. The Ultra Pima, and then this is Ultra Pima Fine, and then this is just Ultra Pima, which is, I think, a DK, and then this would be like a sport fingering. So I have 6 of these of various sizes, 4 of these, total of 230 grams. I have been knitting on these as my purse project for months, and I finally was like, okay, I'm done. I still have more. So as I said, this is a charity that I typically bring these for knitted, the Knockers Retreat, the Northern California Knitting Retreat. This is like their official charity. So I try to make some. So this year I picked up the yarn in the D-stash there, the Cascade Ultra Pima, and I still have some left, as well as some Patton's Grace, which you can also use. But I'm done for this year. So as I said, I knit 230 grams, which was equal to 10 of these for me. And I have it memorized, and it's easy, but it was just, I think, part of claiming my knitting mojo back is realizing I was bored of knitting this. Like, I was like, like when I could knit at work, I was like, so that's part of me kind of getting my mojo back. It's like recognizing, it's like, okay, although this is a mindless project for me, I know the pattern, it wasn't exciting to me. So I'm stopping for this year. My 2023 stash is for this year, and I'll pick it up after the new year and maybe knit a few more, because as I said, I still have yarn for it. So, and if you're interested in the charity, I'll put the link. I think it's Knitted Knockers. But yeah, I like knitting them. Other charity knitting I've been doing, which I think I might be, well, maybe not done for the year, but are charity hats. And so I was trying to do a charity hat a month. I fell off, which is fine. I think I'm gonna, as I said, we'll see if I feel any more urges for the rest of the year. But I did knit these, and these are the Man Hat, and I have 2 of them, and they're the same hat, same yarn. And this is by Haven Ashley. It was a free pattern. It's just a broken rib stitch. I think this was the first one. And then you can see I finished this one, and I had to go into a second ball, which was a little bit of a different color. And I think it's the bottom of that one. But yeah, so just 2 basic beanie hats. I thought these would be good charity hats. They're warm. Again, the yarn was, I didn't say what the yarn was. The yarn was Ironstone Super Alpaca, and I knit about 100 grams. This is 200, so 200 yards, 100 yards each roughly. And again, this yarn was picked up at the Knockers D-Stash Room, specifically for charity hats. So these will go into my charity bag, of which probably in the next month or so, probably November, I will figure out. I think I'm going to be, yeah, I will figure out where will send my charity hats. I have a fair amount now from knitting through the year. So that's the man hat. Sorry, I just lost my list because that's the kind of day it is. I'm trying to bring it back. I don't know what I just did with it. To know where I'm knitting on, because, you know, notes. Here we go. Socks. I finished a pair of socks. I actually finished these a while ago. I think I knit these in like July into early August. So like almost 2 months ago I finished. And these are the ampersand socks. These are a sport weight sock. This is the another Crafty Girls Strong Sport and a Sweet Ogre. And I picked this yarn up in 2021. She's a wonderful dyer. I've met Sarah before. She does beautiful colorways. And I had picked this up, as I said, 2017, 2018. I've had it for a while. So I'm trying, as part of my try to get the old stash out, move it on. I knit these cute little ankle socks. And I think I'm not sure what I'm going to do, if I'm going to keep them or if I'm going to give them away. But yeah, it took about, I don't know, 65% of the skein, I think I did, right? Yeah, 65 grams, so 210 yards. And just a cute little pair of socks. And I put them on the man blockers. These are my biggest blockers. So these are the ampersand. And I want to say I made a modification on, I'm going to twist it so you can kind of see the top of it a little better. I did some kind of modification on it, but once I had the pattern memorized, yeah, let's do it this way. Let's take it off the blocker and show you with my hand. There we go. So you can kind of see. So it's kind of definitely a little ribbed, but definitely has a little bit of a pattern and was interesting for these socks. So yeah, those are the ampersand socks by Bobby Craft. And these were probably a free pattern. Yeah, and then the last FO I have, which is kind of counting these as one project, but 2 FOs. Like I had 2 man hats. I have 2 sea glass hats for babies. One is a newborn size. I think this was just from scraps that I had. So I picked up this was a mini, and then the rest I think were scraps I had. And then specifically I had a coworker. Well, I don't usually do this, but I actually like him, and he has a baby girl on the way, and he actually just moved onto a different group, so he won't be working directly with me anymore, but he specifically asked for a hat for his baby, and because it was a baby hat, I agreed to do it. And so this is the newborn size, and I was worried because newborn heads, sometimes they're small, sometimes they're not, I don't know. So even though I did this the newborn size, I thought I would do another one and make it like the 1 to 2 year size. And so I did another one, same kind of colors, same kind of yarns, using them up, but bigger. So now this will fit the bigger head. And then in this one, I did a pom-pom, and I used my pom-pom maker, so it's not like the most perfect pom-pom. But one thing that you'll see is there's a button in the bottom, and that is because you can basically take the pom-pom off. So it does have a hole if they want to wear it that way, but they could also wear it without the pom-pom, and then that will let them kind of wash it. And these yarns are all sock yarns, so they're all superwash. Superwash nylon blends. I can't even remember what the minis and stuff that I used were. I just went based on color, but they're all a sock. But I have never done a pom-pom before where I have made it with this. And I basically just found a button before I cinched up this and wove it in, made sure the button would fit, and then just sewed the button at the bottom of the pom-pom. I think it's actually really cute. So I will be sending both of these, and I'll put a little note in there. I got to get them to him downtown. I was going to be crazy and make something else, but I'm like, you know what? This is good. I made hats, which is what he requested. And I used some scraps. So both of these are like 24 28, and then the pom-pom is 18 grams. So yeah, so measuring to get off, and that's all I have for my FOs. So 2 baby hats, 2 charity hats, a pair of socks, and boobies. My knitting has been a little slow because my WIPs. I have been working on this, and this has been sucking my life a little bit, but it's beautiful now. So Rhinebeck. I'm going to Rhinebeck. I'm going with some wonderful friends, and there is a tradition of someone picks a sweater and we knit matching sweaters. And so my friend Emily saw this at Vogue Knitting, a sample of this, and selected this, and it is the Orbit sweater by Rachel Isley. And I, as you can see, I have 2 sleeves, but I'm on the body. Color work. I'm knitting my yarns. What are my yarns? My red is Ritual Dyes Maiden and Scorpio, and then my white is Camellia Fiber Company Sylvan Fingering, which is an alpaca silk cashmere and winterberry that I picked up at Vogue Knitting at that one. And then the red I had, and yeah, color work for me had been slow. It looks really good, so I knew I'm worried about the amount of the main color I would have. So I said, okay, I'm going to do the body, and then I'm going to knit the sleeves, and then I'll know exactly how much I have for the body. I knit the sleeves twice because when I knit it the first time, it was, I didn't like the rate of increases, and it was too much right here. So I ripped it out and redid it, and so I have a pretty serious increase. I have tight sleeves on this. I think the way it's written, it would have been a much looser sleeve, but that's not what I wanted. So I did both of those. I blocked, which you can see, I've blocked my color work because I tried on the body the first time. I had about 3 inches after the color work ended here, and tried it on, and it was too loose. Now, it's a combo of me being too loose because I have recently lost some weight. So that's part of it. And then I think the Sylvan, because it's alpaca and it's so drapey, and just I had the needle, the color work size and everything. So I think it was a combo of just all of those things that I had to go down a little smaller. So I basically had done about this much and ripped it back into right kind of the top of the color work here. And then I put some decreases, which you can't really see, into the bottom, the last kind of row of the color work. And then I did a few more on the sides, just 1 or 2 more, to get it back down. Now, the other thing when I blocked it, which I didn't check before because I didn't, I think I briefly thought of it and then didn't, is you notice how bright this red is. Well, when I put it into block, and good thing I watched it because I was worried about the red, and I had gotten color blockers, and I watched it, and within about 15-20 seconds I could see that the red was going to bleed. So you can see the bottom versus that, it did bleed a little. I basically just left it in enough to soak it, but it did soak onto some of this. It's a little pinker, but it is what it is. It's done. It's not too noticeable. And I don't think I'll need to block it again soaking. I think what I'm going to do is steam block. Because I need to block pretty much from here down, and I could actually soak that, but I think I will steam block it. So I had about a half a skein of that red left, and I actually today unskeined it, or unballed it, put it back in a skein, and then soaked it to get rid of the excess dye. I soaked it and rinsed it 2 or 3 times, and then that brought it back down, and then I stuck it in the water with a glug of vinegar to sunset the rest because I do love the color. And I don't blame the dyer. Red or any saturated color, I've been knitting long enough to know that it is very hard to get all the excess dye out. It's very hard to set, and yeah, so I don't necessarily blame the dyer. It happens, and I'm a knitter who's been doing this long enough to know that I should have probably soaked this tried to make sure that it wasn't going to bleed so much before, or done some additional rinsing. When you have like reds or some just really bright colors that red notoriously is one of the harder colors. But even if I were to do all of this and I just soak it all and I just get all kind of slightly pinkish yarn, the white turns slightly pinkish, because if you notice, the yarn already kind of had the blue and the red and the pops. So if it overall takes a pinkish tinge with, but keeps that, I'd still be okay. But yeah, so figuring out my length, I actually just measured before. Ooh, let me not, what is going on? Yeah, okay, it's catching on that. I have 10 inches under the body. Now, I think she recommends a shorter kind of crop length, and that don't work for me. So my sweaters that I like that are just the right length tend to be 14 to 16. 16 probably is perfect. So I'm at 10 inches. I'm going to knit 4 more inches, and then I'm going to rib. And I have this much left. So hopefully that will get me to where I need to go. This is about 60 or 70 grams left. Might get me where I need to go. So this will be how long it's going to be. I'm hoping it will get me to a length of from the underarms of 16 inches. But if it gets me to at least 14, I will be happy. And I need to finish this. I need to finish this. I need to finish this. It is beautiful. It will be my Christmas sweater. I will love it. It is fingering weight. It is drapey. It is mostly alpaca, so it will be light and warm. And hopefully Rhinebeck isn't too hot to wear it. I loved the color work. I'll show you inside out. So it's not perfect because I don't do a ton of color work all the time. But I think I did a pretty decent job for the most part. You will notice, for the most part, I did not pick up my floats. So I have a few spots where they're a little looser than they could be. But because it was at the top, I was picking up my floats or trapping them. You can kind of see there I was trapping them, and I was noticing because this is a white, you were seeing the traps, and I didn't want that. So I made the decision. I don't know where I saw might have been Tin Can Knits. Somebody basically said I don't trap my floats ever. So I was like, you know what? Yes, they're longer floats. Sorry, I'm just making sure I just dropped some stitches. So let me stop playing with it. And I'll get those later. Yeah, so I just was like, okay, because it's only up here, I just have to be careful putting my fingers in to not catch them, and then I'll be fine. I have it in this gorgeous Fat Squirrel bag that I actually pre-ordered, which I hadn't ordered a new sweater size bag of hers in a while. I love these mushrooms. I bought this bag specifically for this sweater. But I am ready to be done. I am planning on knitting on it because I'm not letting myself cast on. I have one more whip that I actually just started that has replaced my boobies for my purse project, and it is the Circle and Square hat by Martina Bem, and it's a really cool construction. It's a fingering weight, and the ones I'd seen, I'd had it in my favorites for a long time, but it's interesting is that you're knitting in a circle and then it's going to be kind of this way. And so it's going to be almost a double thickness. And then you keep knitting the circle out until it becomes large enough for the brim. And then it's got some more things. So I picked a yarn. This is Noro Tio, I think. Noro Neo that I got when I was in Japan in 2018. And it is supposedly a wool nylon, but it's really not appropriate for socks. So even though it's, I think, advertised as sock weight, I think will be much better as a hat. It's kind of rustic looking. You can kind of see very Noro-like. And so it's these pinks and these greens, and then there's like a pop coral and stuff in there. So I think it will be really cool as a hat and pretty warm. So pretty happy with that. Interesting construction, but a lot of mindless rows. So that's what I have put into my purse for now. And I'm happy to be knitting on something. I was going to do a pair of socks, but I will have to cast on a pair of socks soon, but not yet. So that's all my knitting. That's it. Doesn't that not seem like a lot for 2 months? Or at least it doesn't seem like a lot to me. But again, my mojo is coming back. I have some yarn for projects already. I think my next sweater is going to be the Metamorphic. So I have a DK sport weight yarn. I need something not fingering, even though I love my fingering weight sweaters. I wear them a lot. I can't just knit fingering weight because it just takes me forever. Only fingering weight. So my next sweater is going to be something a little thicker. I think it's going to be Metamorphic. And then I'm also going to put some socks on and a shawl. I still have my Make 9, of which by this time, usually in the year, I am pretty good. But I think I've only done 4 of the 9 projects. And those are the specific projects that are going to use up stash yarn. So I do want to knit on some of the ones that I already did. I don't think I'm going to get through all of them, but I definitely want to do 1 or 2 more just so I can, you know, the whole point of that is to get rid of old stash and turn it out. So I'm going to do that. So that's all my knitting. 20 minutes in, knitting out. So what's been going on? What has been going on? I've had a pretty busy summer. One of the things we did this year, my partner and I, is we got season tickets to the Hollywood Bowl specifically for their classical Thursday nights for classical music. And so we pretty much had tickets every 2 weeks, and it was awesome. It's very difficult for me spontaneously to decide to go out. I sort of have to mentally prepare for it. So buying these in advance, I like classical music and I like the Hollywood Bowl. He loves classical music. So we got the tickets, and so every Thursday we would, after work, luckily we live very close. The Hollywood Bowl with the Hollywood Bowl, if you've ever been to Los Angeles in the summer, have the opportunity to see a concert there, you should do it. It's an open air amphitheater, beautiful acoustics, very classic. There's been a lot of different shows that have been recorded there over time, so you might have seen various things. One of the ones that comes to mind was if you are a Disney Plus person and you've seen the live version of Encanto, that was filmed at the Hollywood Bowl last summer. They do something like that every year. Basically, starting in May, they have programming Tuesday through Sunday. Tuesdays and Thursdays are classical music. Wednesdays tends to be jazz and things like that. And then Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays are kind of their more high-end, spectacular. A lot of people go. They have fireworks, things like that. So beautiful venue, fun to go to. Can be really, so one of the awesome things about the Hollywood Bowl is you can totally bring your own food and beverage, including wine and beer in. We did that once, I think. But they also have some restaurants there, which was a little easier for us. So we did various things. Like they do picnic baskets because you can eat at your seat. So we did picnic baskets one of the times. So it was just okay. We ate at the restaurants, the 2 sit-down restaurants there. One was very good, one was okay. We also brought in food one of the times. So we kind of did it all. And it was just nice every 2 weeks that we had this event to look forward to. Also got season tickets for the Pantages Theater for Broadway shows for the upcoming season, and then purchased 2 tickets. So I think last time I talked to you guys, I'd seen Tina. In between that, we saw Beetlejuice with his JC's son and his girlfriend, and so that was fun. It was a musical. Obviously I know I love the movie Beetlejuice, but I'd never listened to the music, and so that was a fun thing to get out and do. And then soccer. We have season tickets to the MLS, the Major League Soccer in the US, and we have season tickets to LAFC. He is the big fan of that, huge fan, and I tend to only go on the weekends. So there's been a lot of Wednesday night games, and that is just hard for me with work, and by the time I get out, most of the time he's actually already gone to the game, but before I even get home from work. So, but I did get to go to the craziest game we probably had all season, which was against Inter Miami. And if you haven't heard, Lionel Messi, who is probably, one would argue, the greatest soccer player of all time, definitely the greatest soccer player still playing, recently joined Inter Miami, and it has been crazy. So we went to that game. LAFC was playing. He was there, and a lot of people wanted to see him. He's Argentinian. He's very famous. He's amazing. And a lot of people were able to sell their seats for crazy amounts. We thought about it, but then, as I said, he's a real soccer fan, so he wanted to see him as well. But it was just a crazy game. The whole atmosphere was crazy. So many people were coming just to see Messi. Well, so many Miami shirts, which was pink, and then so many Argentinian shirts because he plays on the national team. And yeah, it was a crazy game. So we've done that, and I went to another soccer game too. So yeah, it's just been just been a little busy in terms of in town. And then I also have had my niece visit. She came for another visit over the summer, which she typically does. So she was here for a week, and we did like Universal Hollywood. What else did we do? We did some other things, but my niece is 13 and I love her dearly, but she's definitely turning, which I was not, but more of a girly girl. I was a tomboy, still am more tomboy tendencies. So some of what we did that she really enjoyed was shopping, Sephora, like places that I just don't go anymore. It's kind of funny, but it was fun. And then Universal Hollywood, which I don't think I've ever been there as like going to the theme park. I think I only ever been there for like Halloween haunts. I'm not made for roller coasters that much anymore. They just make me nauseous. I went on all of them and just closed my eyes, but they don't have that many roller coasters or rides there. They have more stop motion kind of things. So anyways, she had fun. We had fun. We got through everything. Yeah, we had a good time. It was good that she was able to come and hang out. And then in August, the partner and I went to Gen Con, which is a board game convention in Indianapolis, definitely the biggest one in the United States. I think it's also maybe second or third in the world. And it was in Indianapolis, and if I turn this phone around, you would see how many board games are just in this room now. He is a board game fanatic. He's a board game collector. We have easily over 100 different board games, of which some are like the full expanded version, and there's lots of boxes. So he had mentioned he wanted to go. He doesn't usually like to travel. He doesn't usually, that's why a lot of my traveling is done without him. He's not a big traveler. And when he mentioned he was going to go, I was like, let's do it. I'm all into going to someone else's fandom. And so we went for 4 days in the first week of August, and it was a lot of fun. I like playing board games. Again, not fanatical about it, but I like board games. And so we stayed at a beautiful place in downtown, and we walked around, and we just had a good time. New board games, we did some events. So everyone was kind of asking, what do you do there? Kind of if you've ever been to any of like Rhinebeck or any of the big events, a lot of what happens there is they have a giant market show floor. I mean, walking the floor takes hours and hours, so many vendors, so many booths, so many new games. And on the floor, everyone is demonstrating their new games. So you can stop and talk to the creators. You can stop and talk to the, either or professional people that are working there who their whole point is to demonstrate the game to you, to play it and things like that. And then you can also, there's so many events for this, of which are playing the different games or anything related. There were yarn events, like people were dyeing yarn, people were learning to crochet and knit as part of some of the events they could sign up for. We went to a burlesque show one of the nights. We did a kind of live action adventure putt-putt game, which was pretty cool. We played, one of the items is, it's called the Hot Board Games Room. And basically they have a convention room. You can come in and for 2 hours get a ticket, and all of these, hot games you can play, any of them that are available while you're there, and then you can kind of decide. So we did that like twice, where we would play the latest games to see if we liked them or if he wanted to add them to his collection and things like that. And he bought some board games. Not too crazy because we were flying. We had to fly back with them. And then on the way back, I have had definitely my worst travel day in probably at least 20 years. Our flight was supposed to be first thing in the morning. It got delayed. It actually got delayed to like 10 hours later. The plane, wherever it was coming from, had issues, and so it was going to Dallas, and I think it was getting fixed before it came through. So we waited for that flight. So we missed our connecting flight. And so even our connecting flight, the new flight that they put it on, we were delayed. So I got us onto a different flight that actually didn't get us back to LA, but it got us closer to LA. So we went from Indianapolis to Dallas to Phoenix. And from Phoenix, we were going to go to our closest airport, but that wasn't where our bags were going to go. But last minute was able to get us onto a flight back to LA. But it was definitely a long, challenging day. It speaks to the fact that we made it home and the fact that I am a fairly savvy traveler. I do know how to go about making changes and who to talk to. So, for example, when we got to Dallas, I went to the customer service desk and talked to someone, but then that didn't work out. So when I got to Phoenix, instead I went directly to the gate agent of the flight I wanted to get on, and asked if they had flights and things. Like, you just have to advocate, let's just say, but in a very nice way. It was a challenging weather day. So many flights got canceled. We were in Indianapolis, and this was when there were storms on the East Coast, and these guys who were going back to London, who had been at the Board Game Convention, their flight just got canceled, period. It's like, oof. But very fortunate we did make it home. And even if we didn't, so I was getting a little stressed, and he's just like, what's the worst that happens? Wherever we are, there are hotels. I had specifically packed so that we had, in each of our backpacks, we had like a change of clothes in case we got stuck, wherever, and our bags went to LA without us and we ended up somewhere, we would be able to stay at a hotel. So we had that kind of as a backup, but it was definitely challenging. I know it's been very challenging flying this summer. So many storms, so many delays. So yeah. But it was a lot of fun, and I don't know if we're going to go back next year. I don't know. Well, I have to ask them. The tickets haven't come up yet. They do come up, I think, soon. Passes. So I'll have to see if he wants to go back. But it was definitely fun. And Indianapolis was a nice, walkable city. And didn't go to any knitting stores or anything like that. But I did knit while I was there. I knit, I knit a lot on the socks that I brought, and the hats. What else? So that's kind of what's been happening. And then TV, I want to say. So I am a huge fan of British procedural or police shows. And so I've been getting Acorn for a while, and I've just watched everything. So I basically am doing kind of switching. So I canceled my Acorn subscription and picked up BritBox so that I could watch Vera, Death in Paradise, and some other shows, Sister Boniface, and basically catch up on all things. And then the shows that are only on Acorn will be back on, and I'll be able to watch them. But I'm watching a lot of that right now, these British police procedurals that I adore. So yeah, that's what I've been watching while I'm knitting, and I love them. And that's BritBox. Movie-wise or any other stuff, we've been watching here and there, just random things when it feels like it. But there's so much out there. You're so overwhelmed now. I try to just keep up on shows that I enjoy, that are probably more continuation of seasons, continuation of characters, the same way I like to read books. If I fall in love with the characters, I just want to keep up with them. And as opposed to start new stuff, which there's a few on my list, I just don't have the time to keep up with the ones I love. So for books, since the last podcast, which is 2 months or so, I have read 27 books, and I'm up to about 125 for the year. And most of these, if not all of them, are just new series. Most of them are a fantasy science fiction series or cozy mysteries. Those are the two ones that I'm doing these days. So I'm reading Sean McGuire. She has the October Day series, and I started reading her Cryptid series, which basically is about a family of cryptozoologists who are trying to preserve all the different random species who live with us. And then just kind of following the family adventures. I think I'm on book 6 of that one, I think, and there's 10 or 11. Also reading, I'm just trying to pick ones that are new. Kevin Hearn, who has the Iron Druid Chronicles, which is a very well-known, I guess, series that I hadn't read yet, and I'm on to the 5th book, and it's about a druid who is 2,000 years old and kind of his adventures with the different pantheons of different mythologies and how they all live here and that kind of thing. So that one has been great. And I started reading the Murderbot series by Martha Wells. I don't know where I got that one, but it is a very science fiction based about a futuristic society where they have a lot of AIs and things like that. And this is an AI that was specifically supposed to be a security sentinel, and he's basically become sentient enough to hack all his stuff and kind of go out on his own. He's a murder bot. Very short stories. I'm listening to them on audio. Very popular right now because they are taking forever to come into my library. So I'm enjoying that. That's Martha Wells. And yeah, and then James Patterson came out with a New Orleans Murder Club, number 23. Love those. Kim Harrison, her Rachel Morgan series, number 17. I read that one. And yeah, and then just some other ones here and there, keeping in there. So I am on target to probably read as much as last year. I think I read 144 last year. And as I said, between reading audio and reading and Kindling it, actually, I'm probably going to make it to 144, right around there. So, and then podcasts, I've been keeping up on all my regular podcasts. I did start a new podcast because I was peer pressured by some friends who really enjoyed it. Knitting a Good Yarn, to friends out of Canada who do beautiful knits. So I just started. That's the only new one I think I've started since last time. And that's Knitting a Good Yarn. So they have beautiful projects. So I've been inspired for knitting because I've been watching all the podcasts. But as I said, my knitting has been a little slow and I'm just itching to catch on new projects. Just itching. But I'm not letting myself I'm not letting myself work on anything but this sweater, which I'm at the point where it's round and round and round and round. So I just need something good on television and watch it and go from there. Upcoming travels. I am going to New Orleans. So my college girlfriend's trip is in 2 weeks, and we are going to New Orleans. Originally, we were going to go to Sedona, and then after further discussion, we decided that that wasn't the best trip for us because some of us don't like hiking. Not me. Some of us don't. It's not a thing. So when we were talking about it, we decided to switch it to New Orleans, which I've never been to New Orleans. I'm very excited. This is with my 2 college roommates, and then another friend of us who's joined us the last few years. So 4 ladies. And we are staying in downtown, a nice hotel, and I think we have a nice dinner planned one of the nights. And we're doing like a walking tour of the cemeteries and then I think a food tour. So that will be fun. And then I come back and a week later go back east. I'm going to go see my family for 5 or so days, and we are actually renting a house in New Hampshire. So that will be my mom and my siblings and my nieces and nephews. We're all going to this beautiful house that we rented on a lake in New Hampshire to chill out and hang out. Then I then I basically go from there to Rhinebeck, and another beautiful house with a bunch of friends. And we will be doing Rhinebeck, Wollenfolk I will be attending, and then I think there might be one other event, but more just hanging out and knitting. I think we're planning, I'm not even sure what day we're planning for Rhinebeck, whether it's going to be Saturday or Sunday. Maybe both, a little of both. We'll just play it by ear. I don't think my plans are hard and fast. It's going to be sort of going as we go. I don't have any plans for acquisitions right now. I will have some sweaters I'm thinking about. I want to maybe just get one sweater quantity for a sweater. But yeah, I gotta pick up and knit some of my stash. Some of my sweater quantities already have lingering, and then, well, I don't need any fingering weight. Who needs more? But we'll see if I pick up any or not. Just trying to keep my stash at the level that is comfortable for me, which it's a little high right now, a little bit. If I get a few of these sweaters out, I think that will help me. And And then next year, I'm thinking of the Virginia Beach Yarn Getaway in February. I think the registration for that just opened. Same thing with Zombie Apocalypse in June. And if anyone is looking for a place and aren't attending, I think the signups for that just opened up, and there are more spots than previous years because the room is much bigger. So check that out if you're interested in going to a retreat, and that one's in Minnesota in June. And maybe Vogue Knitting in New York. We sort of mentioned it, the friends. I'm not sure if we're going to do it or not. I got to get with them and see. And then, yeah, then I just got to figure out what I'm going to do next year. I have to get an international trip or a big trip on the books. That's not knitting related. I have thought about signing up for some of these knitting trips, but they've been going so fast, registration. And so I would just have to like bite the bullet and do it. And like the Grocery Girls and some of the other ones. But for me, I hesitate doing that because one, when I go to knitting things, I don't actually like to take classes. And a lot of these do have their teachers are part of it, and the classroom part of it. So it's not really appeals to me on the whole for a trip. So that's one reason I've hesitated in terms of signing up for that. But yeah, I think I'm going to try to do a trip with my mom next year. And I might try to sign up, figure out where I want to go on an international trip somewhere. But I got to decide probably by the end of the year so that I can get it into the calendar because, yeah, fair amount of traveling, which is good. I have it. Well, my job is busy. So work has been great. We're 90 to 95% construction, but we're in the last end bits, the testing, the startup, all those things that take a lot of time. We've had a few setbacks, unexpected setbacks the last 2 months. And so I've just been, kind of challenged and a little stressed at work working through those. So it'll be nice to get into the time of my job where I'm kind of past all that. And then I tend to have, before another project starts up, I tend to have a quiet time. And that will be a great time to go traveling. As opposed to, I'm traveling in October I'm gone almost half the month between my 3 trips. And it's a busy time. But you can't predict. We were supposed to be past the busy time by now, and these trips have been on the books for a long time. So I've just learned, and I tell almost people who work for me, just plan. There's never a great time to go. And luckily I work for a municipality, and I have great coworkers and great people who keep things going. And so though no one does my work while I'm gone, the project keeps going. And my work will wait for me and will be there when I get back. I think that's all I got today. I'm going to go knit on my sweater because that's all I'm going to be doing for the next week. And as I said, I only have 4 to 6 more inches left of stockinette. Well, 4 inches of stockinette and 2 inches of ribbing if I can get it, or some combination thereof. And yeah, and then as I said, fall sort of feeling in the air. Wasn't quite ready to bring out all of my sweaters. I think I might do that next weekend so that I'll have them out and ready for my travels. As I said, back east, Rhinebeck can be hit or miss. It could be warm, it could be cold, probably on the warmer side. That's kind of how it usually goes. But I will be able to bring some sweaters for I'll be gone almost a week and a half. Almost 2 weeks, actually. So, I will be bringing out some sweaters for that, and my new Rhinebeck sweater, debuting that, and knitting on some more sweaters. So that's kind of all I have for today. So I hope everyone is had a great summer and is looking forward to fall. Everyone loves fall. Fall isn't fall for knitting. The chiller, starting to get a little chilly, get those sweaters out, the coziness. I'm very much looking forward to it. And yeah, I hope everyone's just been having a great time. And it's been great talking to you. I said I'll be back probably in November, and I'll give you an update on where my sweater is. I'll definitely be done with the orbits, and my next sweater, I'm hoping I can finish that one fast. We'll see. And kind of what's been going on and catch up. So I will see you until then. I hope everyone has a wonderful beginning of fall. October is the best time of month, and I don't say that just because it's my birthday month. Yes, my birthday is Halloween, so I'll be taking that off, and I am turning 47. Yes, I always forget. If you're younger, this won't mean anything, but once you get to a certain age, like it is so hard for me to remember how old I am. Like I sometimes have to do the math and calculate because I will usually add years. I don't know. When I was younger, that was never the case. You're always like looking forward and then those big milestones. And now I'm just looking at my next big milestone is 50, and that's not that far away. Crazy. Anyways, that's it. Where fantasy meets fiber and dreams are knit. Everybody have a good one. Have a good fall. Happy knitting. Happy everything. Talk to you later.